Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Product of a Strong Woman. I am beyond excited because I have an amazing person here today, Angie, and she is here as my guest today too. We're going to go dive deep into the power of unveiling your truth and stepping into your divine power. And I think that is foundational for all women to just have that courage to unveil their truth, and getting itself takes a lot of courage, and just step into your power. So thank you so much for being here, Angie. I'm extremely grateful for this moment. So now that we began with this, I want to now introduce you, for everybody. So in regards to what, if you could actually introduce you, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background.
Okay, so I'm Angie. I am 36, or I'm going to be 36. I always forget how old I'm going to be. But a little bit of my background is I basically grew up, I'm Dominican, so I'm Hispanic, and I grew up in the Bronx. And so majority of my life, I was what you would call unconscious for majority of my life. And I grew up what you can call in poverty and chaos and a lot of, drama. And that's what led me to feel so unfulfilled in my life that eventually I went through, a spiritual awakening. And right now I am feeling extremely fulfilled in who I am. I have found so much of myself, or more of myself, in this journey. And right now what I do is I help people align with their higher self and their God-given power. And it's really just like the way I look at it is just it's just who I am at my core. Like I feel like none of this is doing, is who just I'm being, right? And for majority of my life, I struggled with just being myself and, doing the things that I loved, because I was afraid for a very long time of what people will perceive me as, when in reality it just came from my own judgment of myself. So I currently, in my life now, I help people and I guide them back to their higher self. So you can call me like the bridge person. I'm at the bridge, just standing there, bridging people from, oh, I'm in the lower aspect of self, back to the higher self, back to their God-given power, because it's really who we are. And um yeah, so I am a mother as well. So I'm a mother, I'm all the things, I'm all the labels, right? Like everything you can pretty think of. I got the labels. I'm married. Um, and yeah, so but this is my life now. And I just feel, I think the most important aspect is feeling so fulfilled. That's who I am. Like I am fulfilled. Like that's who I feel. Everything else is just labels. But really I feel in my essence that I'm just more me than ever. So that's who I am. I am.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. So I want to start off with a, just a very, to set the tone for this episode, an amazing question that I think begins with just how we come to our young age, right, to life, how we are, depending on your belief, how it's introduced to us women. And the question is from a book that was is called When God Was a Woman. And this book was difficult to read, but it is, I highly recommend it. It's just, we always say that, or I would say that we f- we fear what we don't know, right? When you
Mm,
don't know something, we fear it. And then what happens? Think of like the dark, right? Like you don't want to go near it, you don't know what's going to happen, and so forth. And even your reaction, your perception, you don't even know what's in it, but your perception is just, you don't want to get to know it. So I think that when we fear something, we block knowledge and we block
yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I was thinking like, oh my goodness, I think I understand why I feared my thoughts, because I had no idea. I didn't give myself that time to get to know me. So as I'm saying, know thyself and set yourself
Mm,
free, right? So inspired by this book, and this actually, she talks about this. The question is, do we see ourselves as women, right? In the image of God or in the image of Eve? As image of God would be as a creator, or as Eve, a guilty, a sinner. sacrificing punishment. Let me be more dramatic. Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what is your thoughts on this? Because I think this is a great way to set the tone on what I mean by unveiling our truth.
Yeah. And I actually love this question because I think for a majority of women, we have unconsciously picked up on the story that we are sinful, that we're the wrong ones, that we're supposed to endure pain, et cetera, et cetera. And it has come from the story that has been created mostly through religion. And so I think that for me specifically, when I look at myself, especially my younger self, I would say that I most definitely unconsciously saw myself as the Eve that was born into sin. You know, she was carrying all the shame. You know, she had to redeem herself. She was seen, like, if we think about it, like evil because she was like, oh, she gave the apple to, Adam, and she did all the wrong things. And so you should carry this guilt that Eve had. And it's interesting because my perception of Eve. So yeah, sure, growing up, I may have thought that I took on the archetype of that unconsciously, but now after my awakening, it feels very much like, wow, like Eve is so powerful because Eve, now I look at her as a rebel. She was like, what do you mean I can't eat from the tree of knowledge? I'm fine. I'm gonna go and eat from the tree of knowledge. Why can't I? So it's interesting because I see her as now of this, like, she was never the downfall. She was actually very powerful and in her own, like, leadership and authority. So she became like this rebel. Now I see her as like this rebel, this seeker, this like the first awakener, right? Because it's like, oh, she took this apple, even though she was told not to. And then she decided and made choices and decided, why not? Nobody told me why I cannot. So she started questioning, which starts, that's how our awakenings start, right? It's questioning, is this who I am? Or questioning, curious, imagining, well, what's going to happen if I do, right? And so I see Eve now as this, rebel, seeker, awakener. And I think I see myself as both the creator and Eve, but the Eve that I perceive as the rebel, the seeker, and the first awakener. And it really allows me to dare in my life, like because for a very long time, you often have that question of like, who are you? Who do you think you are? Right? Like, who do you think you
Yes,
are?
we hear that a lot. Yeah.
Especially for women, right? Like, we often hear like, who do you think you are? And it's like, I am. I am whatever I choose, whatever I want to explore, whatever I want to experience, right? And I think that, with Eve, she dared to eat that first fruit. She was the one who realized that she is the tree of life and she wants to eat from the knowledge. She wants to have the knowledge. Like they have, I feel like for so long, we have been unconsciously thinking that we're not supposed to have this kind of knowledge, the secrets of the universe, the secrets of we are the creator itself, right? We are the tree of knowledge itself.
Yeah.
And so for me, sure, for a very long time, I definitely unconsciously, and I think it's what I saw growing up too, I saw women, really feeling shame, feeling shameful, feeling sinful, feeling like they're the wrong ones, that like they have to bow down to the man, etc. And now, from my perspective, now after a whole cleansing of my soul and really, peeling back the layers of what I've been taught, I see myself as both Eve and the creator, but knowing that like I am Eve, the embodiment in human form of like the one that gets to try and dare and try things. And also that I am the creator. I'm creating it all as I go. So
And I would even go a step further to say, like, how do you think that's how you saw yourself? Then, if this is how you perceived it during that time, like especially before your awakening and so forth, then your reality looked different, right? Your
absolutely.
reality looked completely different. So, if we
Right.
perceive ourselves as the sinner, like for me personally, I was thinking when I even thought of the question, when I read the book and I saw the question, I was at the airport heading to do an event, and I was just stopped. I just stopped, and I was like, "What?" Because I was
Yeah.
thinking like, my personal belief now is that I am one with God. And that was actually my first thing with you. Like when you were going through that, I was
Right.
even stuttering on my words, like, oh my God, I'm going to get struck in, you know? But,
I'm gonna go struck straight to hell.
it was like my physical body saying that, but my inner knowing knew it. And it gave me the courage to say it, own it and be the authority within me. But when
Right.
I heard this question and I was already past that, my thought was similar to you, which is like, how am I not going to see myself as the image of God? I am a creator. I am like, when we say like, oh, I'm just human. That was another recent thing that happened where it's like, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe we've been saying that. I'm not perfect. I'm just, I can't even say that.
Right.
I am
Right.
human. Of course, I am made perfectly. Like everything is made perfectly within your body. It's like when I say I am human, I'm not perfect. I'm literally just saying something must be wrong. Like I'm creating it, right? So yeah, the first
Right.
part was that's why I don't even, my body is made perfectly. I'm made perfectly. Now my emotions and everything I choose to, that's a completely different thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
But
Right.
so the first part is that, right? So it's like I am in the image of God, right? And it's in the Bible. It's like it doesn't say woman or man. It
All
says
right.
we are made in his image,
It's
image of God, not his, in the image of God.
right.
And then I was thinking with Eve now, right? Like as you said, you have a whole different relationship with her, and I love your perception, which is true. It's like the rebel, like the knowledge. I love that you said that she was like, why not? Because from my understanding, reading, it wasn't that it was said, don't eat it because it's all bad. It's
Right.
you'll know good and you'll know bad.
Right.
You'll know knowledge. And I would even take it a step further to say, what if I ate it by myself and I didn't want to give it to Adam so that I could only know the
Mm.
knowledge, right?
That's right. Exactly.
That will make me a bad person because I can manipulate you to understand it.
Right.
But no, she was here, right? Here you go. Like, let's know the knowledge together, right? That's
Right.
just my perception. But then, in regards to before my awakening and my healing or wholeness, um, I would say that I did see myself in the image of the sinner, and how did that play out in the reality, like in my outside, was that I was the one that had to sacrifice. That was
Hmm.
my role because I sinned. It was placed in my, mind that I had to suffer to be loved, to be, told that you're forgiven, which I will never reach that because obviously she's, that's what they portrayed her as. But now I see her as
Right.
you say differently. I see her actually as just that person that had that courage, like you said, the rebel to say,
Exactly.
hey, here it's the knowledge, and why not do it together? You know, unlike other people would have thought like, hey, let me do it myself and control you, right? So and
Exactly.
it changed my whole reality now, right? So it's like
Yeah.
I don't see her as that, and actually I don't even see that I don't see myself as in her image, but I see myself connected to her as a woman, but I see my image as that of God, which that'll be like the next. I wanted to just want to know your thoughts on this now. Is there a specific sexuality? Because as we hear, oh, God, right? Like we always hear, that's I had to correct myself because it's years of saying like,
Right.
you know, he or she. Because then
Right.
the thing will be like, oh, well, his image, Christ, Jesus Christ, and then the Father, right? So what do you think about that in regards to, I would think that this would be a place where women will be kind of have it difficult to see themselves in the image of God if their image is of a male, not a woman.
Right, right. And I think that with that, it's a lot of the patriarchy. So, um, for a very long time, before it became a patriarchal society, right? It was a matriarchal society. So if we really look down the history of everything, women were the ones leading, and it then became this patriarchal system. And so it's very interesting because this has bit, the fact that you asked this question is because this has been in my mind for some time. And I'm like, dude, first of all, and there's this thing that has come up of like now women are awakening, right? Like women are awakening to their power and they're like angry with like the patriarchy and with men. And they're like, oh, like you have dimmed me for so long. You have put me down. I mean, even in the way that they have put Eve, right? It's unconsciously putting down the feminine, right? And so I have seen this or have observed that so many women are now awakening and they're just like, there's just rage, right? You're like, especially with like the male or the masculine. And I was thinking the other day, I'm like, like God is not a man. We know that God is energy, God is all that is. God is all that exists. God is existence itself. So like anything that exists is God. Now, God is everything. That means that God is both masculine and feminine. So if God is everything, both masculine and feminine, it doesn't mean that God is only a man, and it doesn't mean that God is a woman either. It means that God is both. So it's about unity. It's about like letting go. Like there's not supposed to be a like, oh, it's just supposed to be a matriarchal system. No, it's not supposed to be just a patriarchal system. No, it's supposed to be unity. That's where we're headed in the world. It's about like women also recognizing, sure, like it's valid that you have rage, that you have like all of these things, and that you may not even see yourself as God because it has been painted the picture that God is a man, the Father, the Son, like in every aspect, right? Like in every aspect of life, they have drilled to you Father, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? And so it's like all you hear is God the Father, God the Son, whatever the case is. And for so long, it has just been, oh, it's all masculine. It's all just a man, a man, a man, a man. But it's all false, right? So it's false. And it's what we are awakening to is that we've been lied to our whole lives. Okay. Because the thing is that we are all of it. We are both male and female. Like the you that I speak of is God's source, all that is existence, right? And so it's literally everything. So the way that we're meant to move in the world, and women sure like come in, but we're supposed to unite. It's not supposed to be separate, right? It's supposed to be that flow, that ebb and flow of the masculine and the feminine, right? It's this unity. And for women who have not seen themselves as God or have a hard time, it's just a matter of just dropping the narrative that you have learned. It's unlearning. It's really just about unlearning and realizing that God is not a man, but also God is not a woman, but God is all, right? So you can accept with your being that, oh, I'm part of all that is, right? And stand in your power, that you are part of the puzzle. See, like it had you not been like, if you exist, God thought you were worthy of existence. It created you. So you're part of the puzzle. So now you can stand in your power knowing that I am God and I am all that is.
Yeah, this
Period.
I wanted to really start off with that because and the intention behind starting with these kind of questions is because it's important to just acknowledge even the curiosity. This is what we feel, right? And in this journey or in this time, I think I speak for myself, but I'm not sure for you, it's been a time of expansion. Like, and when I say expansion, I mean that I would have never in a million years thought I would be doing a podcast, let alone write a part of a book, write something else. And I'm just in this season, which I had told you before, I'm like the birthing season, right? Where it's like, I just want to share. And I'm even questioning why, right? And then I realized it's because
Right.
in this season that I'm doing this, it's because I need to expand more of myself to be part of the wholeness, of the oneness. It's
Right.
nothing because I have no fear in regards to like, nervous, in regards to like what, no, it's more like I'm not here to prove. I think it's important for
Mm,
all of us, women, men, to share once you're deeply in that love, in that power of love, because then it's what's going to come out. It's really what the subconscious, like right now when you said, I was just thinking about that. I was like, I'm learning more about the subconscious mind every day. I just love learning. And it's like, this is why sometimes you're thinking somebody's thought, because the conscious mind, we think it's only ours. It's actually everything, the
Very
whole
bad.
network. So when you are thinking someone's thoughts and you're like, no, it's not that I'm a psychic. It's just that we are connected now on another level, right? So this is really important. And I love, how you even dove into the Eve part and the importance of why we couldn't even see ourselves as women, as the image of God, because it has been in a destined, or not destined, but in the blueprint for us. And as you mentioned, one more thing, which I also believe, we are here just trying to remember, right? We're
Right.
remembering. But how is it that when you come into this world and we're supposed to remember, you're told your identity already?
Yeah,
That's what stops us from wanting to seek our truth. And
exactly.
yeah, right. So this is who you are, and this is what it's where it's gonna stay. But I think the magic of it is, I was thinking about it even earlier today. What would be the purpose of coming again to remember? Well, and if you have knowledge just sitting there, it is the renewing of that knowledge. Every time you come back to remember, what else are you going to empower? How else are you going to expand all? Right?
Yeah.
So I love this. I really love this. And I'm so excited for another woman to hear how important it is that we are also in the image. We are the image
The
of God.
image. Right. And it's interesting because, you know, we come in, veiled, right? We come in and we don't remember who we really are and we're veiled. And so we start building the false self because everybody tells us who to be and what to be and, and who we are. And that's where the conditioning happens. And it's very interesting because for us, um, we are, when you said remembering, we're remembering who we are before everyone told us who we are. And that just really just takes unlearning. Unlearning. It's like you have to question. You have to question everything I learn. Is everything I learned true about myself? Whatever reflection that was. Is everything I learned true? And most likely you will come to the realization that you've been living a lie for so long, just allowing others to build and create upon you. But you are the creator. You're not supposed to allow others to create upon you. You're supposed to create. And it's funny because earlier you said, I'm in this creation mode, right? Like I'm just creating. And I'm like asking, like, why? Because that's what you are.
Yes.
Like you can't even help it. Now we've been so conditioned to, like, if you think about a child, right? And it's funny because in the Bible it says like you cannot enter the kingdom of God unless you're like a child, something along those lines, right? And if you think about it, what does a child do every day? They just want to play and create, play and create, play and create, like play and create. But we are the same way. We are literally the same way. So we're in that creation mode. We are in play and create because that's our natural state. But for so long, we have been conditioned to believe that's for kids. That's play and create. That's for kids. You got to get serious about being an adult, and that's what we're unlearning. We're learning, not learning, but remembering how to play again and how to be the creator because that's what you are in your natural state.
Yeah. And when you are the creator, you're no longer the expectator. You're not observing. And because when you're observing, if you're saying, well, it's up to, right? What we hear like, let's see what happens, right? It's up to God, right? But if I am in the image of God and I take that responsibility that
Right.
I am
Si Dios
creating,
quiere.
I'm no longer the observer. I am the one that has to make the changes. I am the one, that has to do all of this. Um, so I love this beginning part. I really, really, I just love the depth of that.
Yeah.
Now, the first part I want to start off with, because this episode, when I spoke to you about it, when it first actually was in my mind, I honestly did think of it. And I remember speaking to you about it in the most amazing event ever that I went to with you,
Right.
the Shark
Right.
event.
Right.
And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, as I was sharing with you, I was like, this is her. Like, this is what she's shared, and what better way to go through this episode and share that. So I want to share into three parts. And the first part we want to start off with is, because I said in the podcast, I talk about how strength built me, broke me, and it redefined me. And that is the product of a strong woman for me. So now I want to ask you, how did strength build you when you began your journey? And what was going on externally? How did that look like when your strength was building you? And how did that look like that inside spiritually?
Okay. So for me, how strength built me, when I think of strength, I think of like carrying things, right? Like I think of someone carrying a bunch of shit, right? Like on top of them. And so it feels like the way I look at strength and how it built me was that I learned to survive, but I learned to survive by carrying, by holding on to things, by performing, by persevering through things. And it felt like life, I had to like endure some kind of storm, right? The way that strength built me was like I had to endure this storm that I'm in, and I kept just standing up, but while still carrying all of the stuff that I was carrying that had been passed down to me. So for a very long time, for me, externally, it looked like survival. It just looked like I was carrying everyone and helping everyone and doing everything for everyone else. I was the strong woman. I can endure everything. I can think of anything. I can like do all the things for everyone and everyone else, right? For myself and everyone else. So I just became good at being strong or wearing the label of strong. And I wore that like a badge. Okay. Like I wore literally I'm a strong woman, like a badge. And it's so funny because now I look back and I'm like, I don't want to be strong. Like, forget the strong. Like, I want to be soft. I want to be the divine feminine that flows. Like, forget about needing to be strong. Because when I think of source, I don't think of source as strong. I think of source as powerful. We don't say God is we don't say God is strong. We say God is powerful. And so for me, I really wanted to like lay down after some point because it was the very beginning. And the growing up, if it just felt like survival, I was carrying everything. I held everything. I performed. I was persevering through everything. It felt like a storm. Like I kept standing up to, and I became really good at being strong and being able to hold everyone and everything. And at some point that spiritually, if we're talking internally, I felt like strength meant never breaking apart. So for me, like it felt like emotional stuff, like that was another thing. It was just like when I was enduring or how strength built me was like I'm supposed to be strong. So let's not show emotions or those we don't do that. So I stuffed in a lot of emotions. I suppressed a lot of emotions for a very long time. And I actually went through a Kundalini awakening. And so the first thing that came out when that happened was all my emotions that I suppressed all the way down. So for me, internally, it also looked like a lot of confused resilience with like just repression. And so I developed like a deep connection at the same time through strength, how it built me. I had no point but to build this connection with my inner voice. It almost like took me there. Strength built me, but then it broke me. Well, that's what we're going to go into next. But that's how it built me. It built me through survival, through
Survival.
having to carry it all.
Yeah. And externally, you would say that, how did it look? Like, did you accomplish a lot? Did you?
Yes. So externally, I would say I was the go-getter. I was the independent woman, I was the go-getter, getting it all, burnt out as fuck. I was doing it all right. I was going for it. So, and really, that's really like what I initially learned that strength is being able to sustain myself and going for it, which obviously it has a double like paradox there, because although it built me, and then I realized that like it doesn't have to be done that way, right? But yeah, externally that's what it looked like. I built a $500,000 business, and I was the go-getter, but it built me through that like push and perseverance of something that I felt like was gonna leave me of some sort. But I felt like I just had to keep going.
It just, I don't know why I just caught this image of like, because you're saying like all this like strength, like, like everything you were doing, but inside it felt like it was pushing like your kundalini, right? All the other stuff, like I literally had an image of like the outside looked so solid and it was building and building and building, but it was required to break, you
Right.
know? Wow, that was a beautiful
Right.
image in my mind right now. But that's
Right.
literally what like what I'm as you're telling me your experience, it's like strength built me and it built this huge solid thing and it became so big that it literally killed like what was inside to release
Right.
who I was.
To release me. So that image is actually so powerful because the way I imagine it is like bricks. It's like I had built these bricks around me. And but the bricks were not more powerful than me. Because eventually it felt so heavy that I had no point but to break through with my own power.
Yes, well, you are the builder. You had the power to build that. So you
Right.
are the one that could destroy it. Wow, that's so
Wow.
amazing.
That's
It's so
deep.
amazing. And I'm going to just piggyback off of this. I also mentioned to you earlier in regards to like, I want to share because I want people to understand what it is when you are working with someone in, spiritual or divine or in the bridge or me as a hypnotherapist. What is that like, right? How do you begin? So for me, how strength built me and it'll be before I met you, right? Before I met you. For me, it's very similar to you in regards to, I think as you mentioned, now I remembered the rage. Earlier, you talked about women coming to this rage, right? Because you've been suppressed for so long and you just feel it. There's something not going. And then we went into the boss babe area, remember? That's when I
Mm.
first had heard the product of a strong woman. I was like, oh no, this is not you know, this boss babe area. And then when I heard it again, it was like the soft era. And I was like, really? I was like, now here? But then when I finally surrendered completely and I was like, oh, I get it. I understand what it meant. It meant the fact that, we need both, the unity of both, right? And I think that rage is when you were talking about the building and all that is literally what forced us to even become stronger. Like,
Right.
hey, that rage was like, I feel like it was the fuel to show our strength, to show
Right.
something's not right here. And it kind of went into like the not the so healthy male side, right? Of our own masculine, because we all carry
Right.
and masculinity. So like that rage literally was expressed in the form of everything I can show you, but it was then kind of really hurting the feminine within me. So now in regards to like I was mentioning earlier, what built me was that
Yeah.
like I grew up also thinking like I had to prove my existence, my worthiness. I was not worthy. I had
Right.
to prove my worthiness, right? And
Right.
I think another part is like I guess you mentioned I completely could connect with you on that. My heart was completely cut off. Like mine was it was only mine. That's all that was working. And yes, it built a lot of things. I moved to New York and I became a nurse and I was doing all these things, but it just always felt like nothing was ever enough. I
Right. Like you're drowning. Like
yeah.
I'm swimming, but I'm not going nowhere. Like what? I just feel exhausted.
And it's crazy how like you reached one point that you like, okay, when I get there, it's fine. And then you get there, you're like, okay, what's next?
Right.
And that
We
made me
just keep
realize,
going.
yes. And I realized I had a moment where I was like, I have to be in order to be loved. I can't just be myself. I have to
Have to
do
do.
to be loved. I can't just be to be loved.
And it's funny that we actually think that you're saying that because oh shit. I just saw a little Geico. There's this illusion of that's what makes us worthy. Well, what are we doing? But when we think of a baby, we don't tell the baby you got to go do this in order for you to be worthy of be taken care of, in order for you to be worthy of, milk, in order to be worthy of love. You got to do something. We don't tell that to babies, but we condition ourselves, or we've been conditioned that when we reach a certain point, our worthiness comes from doing things or from what we have done. And it's like, no, actually your worthiness is innate, just like a baby. We don't expect babies to do things in order for them to be worthy of love or support, right? We allow them to be who they are, and we love them unconditionally. We just love them for being them.
That's
So
a
when did we get this idea?
yeah. Yeah, so I would say that would be for me, like how it built me, and um I guess where it end for me, it was the first time when I shared it with you in 2015, the book where I wrote, which is like I was running when I work out personally, it's always been to just kind of reconnect with myself and just relax. That's for me, relaxing, And during that time, it was when we had moved to New York, back to Miami where I was raised. And I had my first huge disagreement with my family, and it was like a pick and choose type of deal. I stopped talking to my family. My husband back then, boyfriend, he moved to New York, so they didn't know that I had broken up. We had broken up, and we were like separated for like 6 months. I literally thought that was it, right? And at that moment, I remember running in the park, and that's when I first heard the product of a strong woman. And I just said, how can that be? Like, I don't feel strong. I feel so
Mm.
weak right now. And that was the beginning of
Mm.
the ending, the ending of the identity that I was a strong woman. Because strength for me, I took it as my identity. And as we know, what you identify must come to life. So even when life was calm, then there was no place for me to exist. I had to create chaos. I had to create lack for me to then bring my identity of strength, So
Right.
that was the biggest part for me. But I love this. I think this is the beauty of having conversations is that you can relate. And when you relate, you understand that we are one, different circumstances, but the root is the same,
Yeah. And it's funny that when you said, like, how can I be strong when I feel weak? Right. And it was like, because that's what I mean, think about it. Like, your whole life, you've been carrying all of this stuff and this identity of the strong woman. And if you go for too long being the strong woman, you're bound to feel weak because you're carrying too much. I like, think about it. Like, is it like if you're carrying around weights in your hands forever and you never put them down, of course you're gonna feel weak. You're gonna feel exhausted because you never dropped them. So it's like you had no point but to be broken by strength.
So that's a perfect way to enter now the second part. How how strength broke us.
Yeah.
How strength broke me, how did it? What was happening outside, and then what was happening inside?
Yeah.
Tell me your journey.
Yeah. And for me, how strength broke me was like I just mentioned, just piggybacking off what you were saying, I was so strong and carrying so much. And in this performance of the false self and the being the strong woman and I can do it all, I built this strong woman in me that I had no point but to break down. That's how it started for me. I was so burnt out of being the strong woman and go and go and go and persevere and going and going and doing things that I thought I had to do in order to continue going, because I wasn't realizing that it was just like me creating, from this identity of the strong woman. And so if I'm a strong woman, I cannot rest. I cannot be weak, right? I cannot be that. So I had no point but to be broken down. And the way that felt for me was, number one, I felt burnt out. I felt lost. I felt dissatisfied with life. I felt very unfulfilled. It broke me. This is where the questioning began, right? Like the questioning of this, like, identity I had built around the strong women or the independent women or the women who does it all and has it all. And for me, everything just started to fall apart. So relationships, friends, identities, the roles that I had, everything, businesses, everything. It had to broke down because I had built this strength from my full self. It wasn't who I really was. It was from survival. So for me, it felt just like a lot of exhaustion. I felt numb. Like I said, I felt very unfulfilled. And it felt more like strength was this control mechanism of wanting to be safe in who I was or who I had created myself to be in my mind. And so strength became like this armor I had put on, but it also became my damn cage, right? Like it became this fucking cage that I had built for myself. And it's like I couldn't, feel myself through it. So it's like at the end of the day, the cage was too small for me. So I had no point but to break through the cage. And so, sure, it broke me down by making me come inward because really that's what it did. All this stuff that I had built on top, back to the bricks that you saw the image, right? Or like how I saw it. It's like it created this cocoon of like, all right, now where are you gonna go? Of this inner coming inward. And so for me, it just cracked me. It cracked me open. I had nowhere to go. Now what, Angie? You're exhausted. You're burned out. What are you going to do now? And all I had, but no point, was to come inward. But that's really where I found my power.
Is there a specific question you gave yourself during that time that you think made all the difference? Because I'll give you an example. I guess for me, as you're saying this, I'm thinking, I think it's so powerful when you're making an intentional shift direction, when
Right.
you're having a breakdown, which as we know is a breakthrough, as we hear it a lot now, is the question determines your answer. Because ask and you
Mm-hmm.
shall receive. Seek and right, we know that. So for me, it was my breaking that moment. Aside from that one time, I had another time. I literally just said, I something. This cannot be it. This cannot be life. I don't know how to do it, but I'm open and willing. I'm open and willing. I don't know, but that was the question. Instead of I had a conversation with someone, and it gave me the thought of the same time I thought about the I'm human. This also came up for me, which was when we ask, what am I doing wrong? It will
Mm-hmm.
be repeated to you. What am I doing wrong? Here you go. This is
Right.
what you're doing wrong. So the question is so powerful as well. So for me, when everything switched was when I said, life is not like this. I don't know what to do. Show me what to do. Show me what. And that was when revelation, everything just began, right? So is there any question you could think of that it kind of switched from, like, when you were in your building era, like, what do I got to do? What I got to find? Tell me the next thing to do, right?
That's all I asked those two questions. This can't be it. Is this all there is? Because sure, I had externally everything everyone says we're supposed to have. But is this it? Am I supposed to feel this way? Because I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel good. Like I don't feel alive in my life, although I have everything externally. Right. So this can't be it. It can't just be I'm supposed to have all this stuff externally, but not feel fulfilled inwardly. That didn't make sense to me. So those were the two questions that really was just like, this can't be it. And is there really all there is? And obviously there isn't all there is, right? Like that question alone is like, no, oh, there's more.
Yes, I
So
love
yeah,
that.
those were the two questions for me.
Good. Yeah, because I think any woman that is in this transition, right, in this beginning stages, is also asking the right questions. Is also asking, not to put more pressure. I'm just saying, like, one of the things that got me, when I read the Bible on my own, because I feel that the Bible has a special message for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally has like a little secret there just for you, you know.
Right.
And when I read the beginning part, I think Cain killed Abel, right? Was it Cain killed Abel? I always remember I
Mm-hmm.
see, and his punishment was that he was going to be exiled and he was going to just wander. I don't know why. Till this day, I was like so scared. I was like, wonder your whole life you're going to be repeating the same circle over again. I cannot. Like that to me was like so
Oh,
scary.
that's so interesting that your perspective, like when you said the word wonder, to me was like he's gonna go and venture out me and look at the world. So to
Oh no,
you, wonder was more like a cycle.
well, no, I meant like wonder, like with the A. So like a wanderer is someone that doesn't know where they're gonna
Oh,
go. So wonder,
oh,
yeah, wonder, you're right.
gotcha.
It's like,
Oh, okay.
but a with a Wane and Der. That's
DER,
someone,
yeah.
yeah, that's someone that doesn't have a purpose. They're just walking and wondering like
Like
what's going on. Right.
in
So the,
limbo.
right. So that was his punishment. And I was like, that so I think this is really powerful for the woman that is beginning this stage or even pondering about it or thinking about it. It's asking the right question. You know, no longer asking like like what is it that I'm doing wrong and what can I do better, right? But truly going in depth and saying like, is there more? Like that's so powerful because then you
Is
will
there
be shown
more?
that. You will be shown.
Exactly.
That's
There,
awesome.
because there is a whole world.
Yeah.
There is more than more.
So then I'm gonna now. This is the part where I met you,
Right.
and in this part, I would say I remember when I first I had followed you for a while before when you had your business and all that, and when I met you now in this journey, I remember again it was that I had already asked a question, so my body was like so scared, but my being that's another part I want to get into. Knew. And I said, okay, I remember I mentioned because when we went to the event, we went to this restaurant. Like, that's where I parked my car to have my first like session,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
needed to be home because I had no concept. And I remember that first, session, it was like, oh my goodness, I just wanted to, it was like welcoming myself. Like I wanted to just cry from the fact that I it was the beginning stages of no longer fearing myself. All the questions I ever asked and like everything, it was like, like I have the answers all
You
within
know
me
what's
this whole
so
time.
funny? Because the first call I had with you, I immediately knew this girl is fucking powerful. She just doesn't know. Like, I immediately knew it. You were really logical back then, like super. I think I told you this in the, and when we got together for the event, but you were really logical back then, and like you were not into all this source universe stuff. And so, but I remember that your presence alone told me like your energy spoke before you spoke.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That means so much to me. And yeah, so like, when it comes to going to someone, I did not go to a therapist ever. And I don't want to say that that's not okay. I actually just had
Yeah,
a
me
episode
either.
about that in regards to from boundaries to embodiment. And it is when you understand, when you start to look for help or wanting to change something, I think it's important to understand how do you receive information. So
Mhm.
my background is like, critical care nursing. I was an EMT. Like I'm that kind of person that like I don't do the small talk. Let's let's get to it, right?
Me too. I can't stand small
I
talk.
can't do that. And it's like I just needed to go right straight to help you.
Right.
That's the other side. So now I wanted that for me. So when I ran into hypnotherapy and then I ran into what you were sharing, I actually felt like it was just a different form of hypnotherapy or like a subconscious mind kind of therapy.
Hmm.
So that to me, if anyone, it's basically like there's no coming like you can tell the other person whatever you want, which you're gonna be so relaxed and you're in your subconscious mind, but you will know your truth. You will know what you're feeling. And that's what I needed. I needed to go straight to what is it that I am resisting, because there I
Mm.
will find my answer. Right. So that's literally was like when everything broke down was when I met you. I had my session and then I saw um I'll share that one. I wrote that in the book, which it was like, whoa. I'm. I would say there's one thing about you for having had my sessions with you at that time was that you and coming from a very logical mind, right? I was very much logical.
Yeah.
You gave me the space to make me feel safe. And what I mean
Mm.
by that is that I remember you right away noticed that there was something that that was coming up for me that I just was too scared. And then I think I mentioned to you, like, it's like a maze. I created like a maze for myself. I was a little child. And I was like, you were like, okay, we'll get to her and let's talk to her. And then you said, is there anything, a song, or like, I think you mentioned like either, is there anything you could say to her, like to make
Mm-hmm.
her feel safe? And right away, I thought about the prayer that mom always did when I was a little kid, since I could remember, is El Ángel de mi Guardia. And I said
Mm-hmm.
it, and then it's like, I literally said, like, I don't know how many times. And then I finally let her, like, I was able to get to her, my 5-year-old self.
Yeah.
And anybody that's ever thinking, like, how does this work? And how does that, your mind, you're not going to do anything you don't want to do. I think when
Right.
you come to a place of, or a person that works in the spiritual realm or with, this kind of energy and all the other stuff, it's like you're going because you have set the intention that you want to get yourself back, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's your intention. I don't need a prescription from somebody. I need to get myself back. I
Right.
just need guidance to help me there. And I have a friend, which I mentioned before, that she's been to a talk therapist for a while, but I've seen the difference. And that's how she receives information. And I think that that's the beauty of it. Once you understand how you receive that information, then maybe a talk therapist will be amazing for you. That's why they do these things. But for me, I knew that I needed to go direct. So that was my broken moment, but that's where I met you. And I want to just give an insight to other people how it is when you go to therapy like that. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And the one thing that we have to remember of any therapy is they're just permission slips. Like there's nothing that someone can do to anyone unless you allow it. I think what people have to understand is that you are giving yourself permission. There's no healer, nobody that's healing you. You are choosing to match a certain frequency. So you're choosing to match this healing frequency for yourself. Now, you can also come in as a skeptic, right? And choose that you do not want to match that frequency and nothing changes because the power is always yours. Like no one has that power, right? So it's all about trusting yourself. You are going to find exactly who you need, even if it's in the very beginning. You're going to find exactly who. There's no coincidences. So
That's
you
the
innately
thing.
have an inward control. It's not like the kind of control, no, but it's like innate. It's like your blueprint. If you follow it, if you follow your intuition, that is the control mechanism within your soul. So you don't have to worry about anything. You're always going to be led to wherever. Is your mind that's going to try to, bring in all the fear about it, but it's
Yeah.
always in control.
Yeah. It's so crazy because even as you say that, I had like the image of the mind and the heart, which is like the mind's been so used to doing everything that it's like it fears what the heart can do. But the heart is actually the one that's, you know, you cannot control the heart. The mind cannot do that.
Right.
Where it comes from and then it goes up. But it's been so long that it's been disconnected. So it fears because the mind needs to know a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it kind of fears now that what's happening here, but
Right.
that's great. I love it. I love it. So now let's go to the next section, which is going to be how strength redefined you
Yeah.
and what was going on within you and how was that now showing up outside of you.
All right. So, how strength redefined me. When I think of redefining, I think of like a resurrection. So like an alchemy. So it wasn't really that I lost myself, is that I lost a version of me that was never really truly me. So the way it redefined me was that, or maybe even the way I redefined strength was that it's not that strength is not as like it's not about holding all of it together, but it's about letting myself literally fall apart with grace. So the way I redefined strength, because for so long I was like, I gotta hold on to all of this. Like I got everything gotta stay put together, right? But it was the minute that I let myself just fall apart is when you literally surrender to the on higher aspect of you and say, you know what, hands up, fuck it. Like let it all fall apart so that I can put the true pieces of me back together. And so for me, what it looked like externally was that I started to choose surrender more. I started to choose like just a softer path, like slower mornings, things that were more true to me, things that just fell off. I let them go. And so I just came back home to myself. Like I literally, and when I say back to myself, I mean the God within, not through like fear, not through, guilt or any of that, but just through like remembering who I really am. So when I then came into alignment, what happened was that my outer world then began to reflect who I really am, who I am naturally, my natural state. So it's like strength really redefined me in a way that I just stopped looking like, or stop worshiping survival, or stop worshiping the independent, worshiping all of these aspects of me or this identity of the strong woman. And I just looked back into my soul. So the way it redefined me was that it it resurrected who I really am underneath everything I had created eventually from the false self, because we're always creating, right? So I had created this false self, and then I came into alignment. So it allowed me to just come back into who I really am, because I was done with holding it all together. At this point, I'm just like, I just want to be me.
And that's how it looks at externally now. I could definitely, from what you shared, living in now you live in Dominican Republic, and
Right.
like just a different life, and it's so aligned too with how you feel within. And yeah, and I think that is why, even though, you're saying how like there's no coincidence, we go to people that um we already know. I was just talking about this, the Matrix.
Yeah.
I talked about this in the
Nice.
last podcast. And I talked about the Oracle because when like at the end the Oracle like ask
Uh-huh.
about the candy, and he's like, oh, how is it my choice if you already know? And then she's like, well, you've already made the choice, you just need to know why you made it.
Exactly.
It's like I had already made the choice, I just needed to understand further in depth. But I want to, now that we're talking about towards this end part, now it's how strength redefined me. When the first year, I would say that I started to hear things. I say it's my, what I call it now. I call it my intuitive self talk.
Yeah. Ooh,
Intuitive
I like
self talk.
that.
Um, was during my birthdays. I hear like, what is it I'm going to be working on? What's going to open up for me? And one of the first years was clarity, and that was the year that was the hardest because I actually got excited. I was like, oh my god, clarity! Yes, yes, it's going to show me what to do. There goes my logical mind, right? And that wasn't it, And I want to share this because a lot of the clients that I've had, that's one of the main things they want. I want clarity. I want clarity, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we think that clarity is to show us where to go, but clarity is showing us where you are. The light is not shown in front
Mm.
of you. The light is shown on top of you because your presence is your future. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about the creation, but your present mind, your present heart connection is your future. So the light is going to be shed upon you. And I even thought of Martin Luther King when he has that quote where he says, just look for the next step. And usually those, you just see the light literally on the foot.
All
It doesn't
right.
show you where you're going. You must show what's within. So when that year, as clarity is the year that I stopped, my relationship with mom, we separated for a couple of years, not talking and so forth. My relationships, my career, everything, like you said, it broke down, right? And the way it redefined me was the understanding that that moment of clarity was the moment that I had to tear it down, deconstruct my own tower, because
Mm-hmm.
although it felt like it was happening, I had to take the initiation. And I love anything. I had talked about I love prefixes and suffixes. I just love learning. But every time I
Right.
hear every time I hear "re," I get excited because I'm like, okay, what comes after "re"? Because that means that we've been there. We've been there already. This is just we're redoing it
Right.
again. So every time,
Right.
exactly. So when you think of redefine, I'm like, oh, I've already been defined prior to be here. Let me just remember. And
Mm.
it gives me that courage or that excitement of I don't know, but I've been there. I don't know, but I've been there and I will be there again, you know?
Yeah.
And that is
And
what
it's interesting that you say that because clarity is knowing as well. So, but the thing is, like, so earlier when you said clarity, the first thing that came to me was declutter. Like, when I think of clarity, like, think about it. Like, when there's clutter all over you, you feel like you don't have clarity in your mind. That's why they say just like clean up your space, have it like, open space, etc. Because really, when we ask for clarity, we're asking for a declutter of our life. like if you're gonna ask for clarity, be prepared.
yes, girl. I've been telling my when I get a client, I'm like, do you know what you're asking for?
Be prepared. Be
Yes.
prepared for the decluttering that's about to go down. Because you have to, in order to have clarity, there has to be space. Like, you got to clear out what the fuck is in the way, what's been in the way, right? And it's
Yes.
funny because you mentioned about like the steps, and the first thing that I saw was like in the dark, right? When it's night, you have the light on, but you're going like for what you see right in front of you, step by step, step by step, step by step.
Yes, exactly. I think it's when we think of like trust the light and you're like, oh no, I can't, it's because you haven't acknowledged that you're there already. Like that person you're looking
Right.
for is already there, you know?
Right.
And that is, I talked about this too. Intention is that the decision that I'm going to go, the surrendering is you're now opening the way. That is not
Right.
for you to decide. I think of Les Brown. He says it harshly. He says, how you get there is none of your business. And I'm like, okay,
It
Les,
is
I got
true. None
it.
of your damn business.
Yes, I got it. But even in that transition, when I was talking about the heart and the mind, because that was the biggest thing for me was connecting both. Because although I was very logical, we know when I met you, and now that I'm talking to my mom and we're connecting, and it's so beautiful, like how everything's just different now. Not because I needed to change anything, I needed to, like you said, find myself again and connect. When you connect to someone in their essence, no longer in their, you're not connected to their perception, so
Right.
like the experiences, the circumstances, like that's all like aside, because I was defining my experiences as if this is I was the experience. I wasn't
Mm,
the being, I was the experience. And the experience obviously is not loved. It's not whatever. It's just an experience. I'm not gonna
right.
but I'm just saying I was literally connecting when I had to separate myself from it. But you know, in that process, I realized the I am. I want to talk about that. The I and the am so huge. We talked about it a lot here in this conversation, and we're coming to the
Yeah.
end. I want to know your thoughts about that. But for me, I want to share that I am has for some reason been feeling very separate lately, and I'm loving it. I don't know why, but I'm loving it. And the reason why I say separate
Okay. Uh-huh.
is that
So you're saying that you're seeing the I am as separate?
yeah, but not in a bad, like what I mean is this.
No, no, no. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Okay, so like I was getting this image, and then I even wrote like I had like a little triangle, and I was like, I is the human, is like I don't say Lisbeth or spirit. It's like I am assigning who, and then am is my spirit, is the being,
It's the
so
creation.
yeah, so I think of I as who is you're identifying who it is, and then how powerful, man! My goodness,
That's why you
I,
should
like
be very careful what you say after
for,
I am.
for real. That's why I say I am bring to life. I feel you bring to the light because at least
Yeah.
bringing clarity to that. But you don't,
Yeah.
I am is be ready. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I am to me is you have to bring it to life. So for me, when I was referring to like, this whole episode, in regards to strength, the difference between strength and power, but I am strong. I'm a strong woman. What does that mean? I cannot have a peaceful life because I won't exist in that reality. Right. And the thing about that is that, like you said, for you, it was through generations as well as for me and as many women, right? The women before
Right.
us. And it's like they prayed for the life that we have. And I talked about it in my first episode, right? We're living this lifetime as though we're still their prayers. We're their answered prayers. Now create that for another generation. But yeah, so
Exactly.
um, and in that process, I had to liberate. In order to liberate, I had to liberate myself. Like I had to be liberated. But the only person that can do that is you, and
You.
understand what is it that that you fear because it's just the unknown and you're blocking knowledge, understand,
Right.
you
And
know?
really, you're fearing just more of you because the only thing you're going to find in the unknown is more of yourself. You're going to know yourself even more.
I'm like loving darkness. I'm not even, girl, I am
Exactly.
loving darkness. You know, in the Bible it
Exactly.
says, and then there was light. What was before light?
Right? Darkness.
Darkness.
Yo, I started saying this to people and I was just like it says let there be light, so that means that darkness was first, like, like it was there first. It was always been there. So it's like, why are we so afraid of our truth? Because I think it's the way we've been conditioned to see darkness.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about it, I mean, I don't know, that's just my thing, but like I think of women and men, like even though we're both it's like bas but as I'm expressing it now in this lifetime, I am a woman. It's like we're darkness is where we really expand. But if you're
Mm,
expanding with some kind of judgment or with something not good, then you're not going to want to express it in the light. If you are expanding something, I mean, think about like intimacy, sex that occurs at nighttime in the darkness, right? What's wrong with that? Even like the birthing of a human being growing in the belly, it's in the darkness. If you were to see that baby at 3, 4 months,
right.
you would be so scared of that. you know, you'd be like, oh
Right.
no, what is this?
In the void, right? Because
Yes.
really that's darkness, is the
So it's
void.
darkness. And in the light, I think of like my masculinity, where it's like it's like the one that like builds and like does everything. I think
Right.
even of women, I mean, we hear in Proverbs, she wakes up in the middle of the night, she's up before everything. And even, I don't want to generalize, but a lot of the times, women tend to be the ones that would want to wake up early to like make sure things are ready or things, the darkness is where we kind of like just, oof, right? And then the men in the
Right.
morning, they're lit. They're like, let
Yeah,
me cook, let me do this, let me build, let me whatever, right?
it's
So
true.
I understand why they would make darkness bad because women expand in the darkness.
Yeah, right, right. I think, it's so funny because when you said like, sexual things happen in the darkness usually, right? And it's so true. And it's like, but what is happening? Like you're in pleasure, you're having fun. Like it feels ecstatic, right? When you're actually in this sexual play that you're having, and it's being done in the darkness. And it's like, but for a very long time, where instead of seeing it as like, oh, this is pleasure, this is great, this is amazing, this feels good, and it's happening in the darkness, we have put so much shame on top of it. I mean, think about it. Like, oh, we do it in the dark because we don't want anyone to see, or we do it in the whatever because we don't know what is supposed to see that stuff, right? So it's so interesting how we have been perceiving, because it's just a perception.
Yeah.
It's just a meaning that we have gave it for so long.
Yeah. Um, I'm really grateful for this conversation. I'm gonna go with the last question, which I love. And it is, what has another woman left in your journey that will be passed down to another woman?
Yeah, this question was like tough for me. Not tough in the way that, because I had to kind of like, okay, so the first woman that came to mind was my mother, right? The first person, like, oh, who is another woman that left, something in your journey? And I think of my mother immediately, like as the first person that comes to mind. So, and when I think of my mother, I think of like trauma, right? But also strength, because that's really what I saw my mother be my whole existence, knowing her. It was this woman who just carried everything and everyone on her back. And she unconsciously just carrying all of this trauma. So the kind of strength that really, for me, looking out at her was just like all this survival, and so that the kind that taught me how to just, because what I saw was her doing it all on her own, right? And so she also passed down how to just keep going no matter how tired she was. Like just keep going, even though she looked physically tired and energetically tired. And so I remember her as strong, always moving, always doing, but tired. Like everything I remember about my mother was literally that. And what's funny is because my mom was always very noble as well, but it came at a cost. So It looked a lot like carrying. It looked like enduring. It looked like being the mule, right? Instead of the muse. And
Mhm.
although I honor that, um, because her strength really built the ground that I now stand on. Because had it not been for that, I would have not expanded into who I am, right? I would have not found myself. And so, but even though that's what she passed down, my power was in alchemizing it, right? Like all of this had been passed down to me, but I alchemized it. And I chose to transform strength into power. Like when we think of God, God is not struggling to prove its worth, right, to anybody. God is just being. God is just God. God is existence itself. And so for me, it was like, yes, thank you, strength, but I'm mixing in a new medicine. Like, thank you for what you gave me, but now I get to, from my own experience, bring something in it and then create this potion, this magic that will transform it into something else. So from pain to petals. And so for me, the exhaustion of strength, I took that and made it the embodiment of power, right? And that was my choice. So, because at the end of the day, I just remember I am the source. So, but had none of that happened, right? Because I wouldn't change it, any of it. Because without her strength, it's like she was the stepping stone for me to literally become who I am today. It's just a matter of that I had to see it for what it was and see it through the eyes of truth and compassion and grace so then I can begin again. So, but then I can pass it down to my daughter and to future, and not just even my lineage, but to the women that I would meet and come around, right? Because it's not just about me and my lineage, but it's about really the world and every woman that I will come across.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I almost keep hearing like the power of alchemy, like the power of alchemy.
the
Like that
power
is,
of alchemy.
the power of alchemy has been upon, like, that's what you're taking almost from here. She didn't do, but it was that mixture that you carry with you, the power of alchemy. And that what I say is, to me, legacy is what you give. And you said it perfectly. Other women will experience it, right? And
Right.
then they will remember you. And then I don't even have to say your name, but I carry you within me because I remember and I'm connected to you. And then that's legacy. And that's how you keep living through other people, right? How we
Exactly.
connect to oneness. So I love that. I really do. And I just want to end in regards to the fact that for me, I'm not sure in regards to how you feel about this, but the goal, it's not that it's a lifelong journey to heal or to become whole. I think that is what drove me to do this, to do hypnotherapy, to go into spirituality and all of this, like, divinity, all of that, because it is now for me a lifelong journey to experience,
Exactly.
not to heal, but it's a lifelong journey to experience. I don't think we realize that we have blocked ourselves from experiencing from fear for so long that
Hmm.
that is the journey. So we feel like, oh my God, I healed this and now this feels like that. No, you're experiencing, you're
The
experiencing,
process is never going to end.
right? The process is to experience, not to heal. If
Right. Is the
your
point.
mind is saying that, oh my God, it's like a lifelong journey to heal, then your mind's gonna keep looking for hurt. Your mind is gonna keep
Right.
looking for anything. And if it doesn't find it, it's gonna create it, because then it has
Exactly.
to come to life. Your identity has to come to life. So I am so grateful, Angie. This has been like, anything else you want to share in regards to this topic?
Yeah. Um, just that the process is the point, and we're just all remembering who we really are. Like the process, like drill that. The process is the whole point because we came into this life as source for the experience, because in spirit, you don't really experience anything. You can't really have the tangible experience. So everything is all about the experience. It's all about the process.
And how can anybody, if they want to work with you, Not, if they want to out to you, how can they? I will put the link also as well
Yeah.
here, how they could get in touch with you. But what's the best way they could contact you if they want to work with you?
They can follow me on Instagram, which is, why am I forgetting my Instagram right now? um, God in my skin.
Okay.
God
Love.
in my skin. So yeah, on Instagram you can find everything for me.
Okay, perfect. So I will put in the link there below. Again, I am beyond grateful for being able to have this connection in this lifetime, with you and do this podcast. I really am in my heart just beyond happy about this, and just want any woman that, has comes across this to just know that we're all one and we've all gone through the same path. And
Yeah.
so excited to see everyone achieving what they desire in the other side, when they understand that you are the answer. The seeker is the sought. So
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I had fun doing this. It's my favorite topic of ever. To speak about the universe and source and all this stuff. So thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, take care. And everyone, thank you again for being here. And I hope you enjoy this episode. Bye.
Yay. Bye.